Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to see how to get started with RabbitMQ using Spring Boot framework. So we will be designing two Spring Boot application. One is for the producer and another one is for the consumer. So let's build a skeleton project using Spring Initializer. You need to have the following dependencies: Spring Web, Lombok, and RabbitMQ. And once you generate that, try to create one more project MQ consumer. I'm just going to create these two separate applications so that you know in real time how it works, right? Like let's say you have n number of microservices. You need to have the updates from one microservice to other microservice. Let's say if I'm going to place an order, I need to update that quantity update as well as I need to generate the PDF. So once one of the API is getting triggered, I will be publishing a new message using the RabbitMQ queue so that the other microservices which is registered for this queue, like listener, is going to consume it, and it is going to fetch from there and it will process the data. So let's say this is microservice A is publishing after the order is getting placed, and then the RabbitMQ is going to keep that message in their system until or unless the other consumer which is ready for this. So if the other microservice B is going to consume that, it is going to process the remaining details. Now I have downloaded that project and I have opened in IntelliJ. So it's a basic skeleton project. So in application properties, I have added a few details which is required for RabbitMQ, RabbitMQ host, port, username, and password. Make sure to run this application, you need to have a RabbitMQ installed on your system. So what I have done, I'm using a Docker. On top of it, I'm running this RabbitMQ. Okay. So as you can see, I'm running RabbitMQ on this port. So in my local, it is currently running. So this console, localhost 15672 is the RabbitMQ local port, and you need to put guest username, guest password. So once you logged in, you will be able to see RabbitMQ console on your local with whatever the channels, exchange, and queues. So these things we need to register in our Spring Boot application. So let's get started. So now I have these three empty packages: config, controller, and service. So let me create a new class, RabbitMQ config. So in this configuration class, this is a configuration. So let's define that. This is a configuration component and we need a couple of beans. Okay. So let's register that bean public. I need to have queue, which is this AMQP core. Okay. Let me use that. Return of new queue. Okay. You need to define the queue name and it should be false. So let me use that public static final string queue name is equal to my queue. Similarly, you need to have couple of variables, one for queue name, one for topic name, my topic, and one for routing key, my routing key. Okay. Now we need one more bean. See, these are all like RabbitMQ configuration. Okay. So I need to put topic exchange. Okay. Similarly, I have to return of new of topic exchange, and in that topic exchange, I have to define this topic name. Okay. public binding. In that binding, so once you do that, you need to have few more beans. One is for binding between this queue and topic name with this routing key, and one bean for converting into Jackson messages. The other bean is for that the template, like what format of template we are going to use for AMQP template. Once you do that, try to create a new class in the controller, like let's say message controller. I'm going to use it as REST controller, okay, and public string of publish message, and in the request body I'm going to get it that message, and I'm going to return that. Let me create the same thing in the service class for handling the business logic. So in this application, what I have done the basic plain RabbitMQ stuff. I'm not involving any kind of databases. If you want, you can add it by adding the required dependencies in your project, and you can do that configuration. So in this session, what we are going to see, we are just going to plainly trigger a message from one microservice to other microservice using RabbitMQ. So this is like service class. I'm going to have that method public string of publish message. So I'm going to get that message from the controller class, and then I'm going to return it to RabbitMQ. So you need to have auto wire for mm, AMQP template, which we have registered here inside the configuration. So the Spring container will pick up this class since we have defined as auto wire. So it is going to look up during the runtime. So with the help of AMQP template, I'm going to convert and send this message. So you need to use this configuration, topic name and routing key here. So we have defined it as static public. So let me call that RabbitMQ config dot topic name, comma RabbitMQ config dot routing key, comma whatever the message which I have get it, I'm just going to publish it. But since we have defined the return type as a string, so I will return published to messaging queue. Okay, so we have to call the same method in the controller. So similarly, we have to auto wire the service class, message service class, message service dot publish message of this message. Okay, by doing this, what happens? Okay, we forgot to add the type of mapping, so I have to put post mapping slash push. Okay, so let me open postman here. So from here we are going to call this endpoint 8080, and then in body I'm going to send message equal to test1111. So the same thing I have mapped here. So once I receive that, I'm going to return a response published MQ, and then we are going to check in the RabbitMQ. Okay, so now I'm going to run this application in my local. So let's see that. I can see this application is getting started on 8080 port. Okay, and before that we'll go to RabbitMQ dashboard to check if we have anything in the queue. So what is the queue I have defined? My queue. So if I'm gonna get and check, I see queue is empty as of now. Okay, so once now I have run the application test MQ message, I'm going to trigger this. Okay, let me send this, hit this. As you can see, I'm getting this message from the application that this message has been received Here also you can see a connection has been established for my queue, and it was processed. As you can see here, it is published to MQ. So now if I go back here, if I check this, you see one message is ready and it is showing one. So if I'm gonna click now get one message, you see this is the message I have sent, test MQ message, which was sent from here. Why this message is here? Because there is no consumer which can read this message and do the next process. For that, as I said earlier, like when creating a skeleton project, we have to create one more application. Let it consider as a consumer application. In this application also we need to have same set of configuration, and we need to have this RabbitMQ configuration and application properties. Okay, so I have already opened that in my local. Let me open that application. So I have this empty application with just empty folders. So in application properties, so the same detail you have to put it. Make sure we need to have this RabbitMQ configuration there. Put it inside the config class. So the same class, because we are going to have the same detail. Okay. And in consumer, you need to create a new class. Okay. So let me call it as listener, or maybe message listener. So this is a new class I have created. Let's annotate this class as service. Okay. Now I need to do auto wire for AMQP template, and this template again it is going to fetch it from the RabbitMQ, and we have to make the listener for this queue. Okay, so you have to define Rabbit listener, and inside that you need to define what is the queue. Okay, so RabbitMQ config and this queue name. Okay, let me create a message. So this is a consumer part, so you are not going to get any return type for this. So I will just design consumer, and in the consumer, since in the producer we have we are sending only this message, right, string of message. If it is you are going to have some kind of object, you can copy and paste the same object here, and you can consume here. Since I am passing only message, I will consume that and I will print it out here. If it is like database operation or any kind of business logic, again we can have separate packages for those services, and for DAO layer we can put those entity classes or the required document collection in case of MongoDB, and then the respective business operation can be triggered. So what I'm going to do, receive the message from MQ, and whatever the message which I have got it, I'm going to print it when running this application. Okay, so make sure you have the same configuration in both producer and the consumer, and also the RabbitMQ config, which is very important in order to communicate your application to the RabbitMQ server. Okay, so let me run this MQ consumer application now. Okay, so this application is running now. um, you see, by the time it got started, it was telling me test MQ message. So it has started consuming that message and it has printed here. If I go back to the console, if I try to refresh this page, see there are nothing is ready, total, act. Even if I try to get message, it is going to say queue is empty. So likewise, the data is getting consumed. Now let me change the message to different testing MQ new. Okay, and I will clear this console. Okay, just to show you how quick the data is transferred between these two applications. Okay, let me run this. It says publish to MQ. Let me go back to consumer. You see, so this has consumed, that is what it is printing. Received a message from MQ, and what is the message? In the form of JSON test MQ new, which I have sent it now. Okay, and we can see the graph also, like how many queues are registered, how many exchanges are there, how many channels are there. So in production you might have n number of applications, and one microservice will send any a message to other microservices. So, and also you can check the details, like what it has consumed. So you may have n number of application for this particular queue. So likewise we can track it down everything on the RabbitMQ console itself. So by doing this you will be able to send and receive messages using the RabbitMQ. It's asynchronous communication. It's not a synchronous communication. So asynchronous means the server doesn't have to, I mean, the client doesn't have to wait for the server to be completed. So once this particular, postman is hitting this particular endpoint, it is just going to trigger a message to RabbitMQ and it is going to return it. So likewise, the data will be uh, the data is not waiting for the server to complete everything by the consumer side. Even this consumer's application, if it is like stopped for some reason, all your messages is going to be in the RabbitMQ. So once your application is up and running, it is going to consume everything and it will process. Okay, I hope this session is clear for you. If you like this video, please like and share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.